Have you ever heard your name called faintly in the distance, but there's no one there? Or there is someone there and you're like, so and so, you called me? And they said no. Or you're laying in the bed at night and you sounds like the TV's on, but the TV isn't on. And you think, okay, well, maybe someone has the TV on in another room, but the TV's not on in that room either. And two people are talking to each other and you can hear it. Or you hear someone talking, it sounds like they're talking to you, but there is no one there. Who is that voice? Where is it coming from? Have you ever had that experience? And then in addition to that, you hear the voices, and next thing you know, you're in the same reality as the voice, which is not this reality. Or you hear the voices, and then you can feel a pull as if your body wants to go somewhere. If you haven't experienced that yet, you will. Someone like you that has spontaneous out-of-body experiences are going through a profound spiritual awakening. This includes a heightened sense of awareness of other realities, other dimensions, other planes, other worlds. And so your 5 physical senses that we know of in this reality are going to become more heightened, including your hearing. So you'll be able to start hearing in other realities. Now, you may have been already able to do that before your OBE started, but may have just ignored it because someone said, oh, that's the devil, so don't answer the call or whatever, or that's some type of mental health issue or whatever. It's not. It's neither one of those things. So we're going to talk about that today, as well as get into some deep understanding when it comes to how your heightened sense of hearing, clairaudience, can initiate an out-of-body experience. So let's talk about it. Welcome to episode 9 of the Mystical Recall podcast. I am Vernita C. Ray Sherman, and I am an interdimensional traveler and OBE mentor that works with individuals having spontaneous out-of-body experiences who want to feel safe, confident, and at ease in their experiences. All right, so before I talk about hearing voices initiating an out-of-body experience, I want to be very clear when it comes to hearing voices. It is not a mental health issue. It is not the devil. It's not any of these things like something is wrong with you or nothing like nothing is wrong. Okay. Clairaudience is what it is. When you hear voices that are not there, you have a heightened sense of hearing. You can hear interdimensionally. You can hear in other realities. You can hear in other planes of existence. Don't let somebody tell you something's wrong with you, because it's not. There's some people in this reality that make the assumption that if someone is hearing voices, then they must be schizophrenic, or they must be whatever mental health disorder or whatever they come up with. They always come up with new ones to describe something that they do not understand in the mental health field. Yes, there are people that have some mental health issues and they hear voices, but hearing voices itself that are not in this reality is clairaudience. There's no separation. There isn't hearing voices and clairaudience. Hearing voices that are in another dimension or another plane of existence is clairaudience. I want to get that straight. The next thing I want to get straight is it's not the devil. Especially in the Black community, I don't know about everyone else, but there's this thing that older people, especially in the 20th century, we're in the 21st century now, so it sounds kind of weird since I was born in the 20th century to say 20th century, but whatever. You have people from the 20th century that will talk about their ancestors as well, saying, oh, if you hear your name being called, don't answer, that's the devil. I'm not even going to get into what the devil really is and all of these terms and everything that people have come up with in this reality to scare people from the truth and their essence. But when it comes to this particular situation, it's not a devil, it's not a demon or some low vibrational entity. Can it be? Yeah, it could be a low vibrational entity messing with you. 9 times out of 10, it's not. Another thing I want to say is that a lot of times the voice, not the one that's actually calling your name, but the voice that is talking and you think it's talking to you, it's not always talking to you. That voice could be talking to someone else in another reality, but because we weren't trained to understand what all of that is in this reality, you make the assumption that that voice is talking to you, and it's not. And you'll know that when you go into that other reality and have that out of body experience. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the voice is not always talking to you. And then there are times when there are two people having a conversation with each other and you are listening into the conversation. It's kind of like you're eavesdropping, but you don't purposely do it. Sometimes these voices can be in the spirit realm, and sometimes those voices are not actual spirits, but they're actual people on a different plane in the same dimension. So when it comes to clairaudience, and specifically hearing voices, not just hearing anything in other dimensions, but hearing the voices, there are basically 3 types of clairaudience that I've identified that can lead to an out-of-body experience. Now, there may be more, whatever. I'm just going off of my own personal experience. So you have I'm just giving these words, these terms to it so it makes sense. You have the inner ear or the inner hearing, I should say, type of clairaudience, which is more like telepathic communication, where you can hear internally, and usually the communication is your thinking voice. So it kind of sounds like you, but it's not you. That thinking voice type of clairaudient voice. That's one. The second one is the outer hearing. So it's like something external coming into your ear where it sounds like the TV is on. Like literally, like the TV is on, but it's not. And somebody could be talking, whether they're talking to you or talking to each other, because it can be 2 voices, or they're talking in general. And you can tell they're not talking to you, but they're somewhere. They're talking and you can hear it. That's the second type. And then there's the broadcast, where it may sound like a radio broadcast. And when I say a radio broadcast, I mean like the type where, so I used to be a police officer, right? And so we had these radios, and you talk to radio, you like, radio, such and such. Radio is really the dispatchers, right? Or you can talk to another officer or whoever. Um, People who have those radios on them, or walkie-talkie, let's just say walkie-talkie, that type of stuff, where like something, 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 like that type of thing. So it may sound like there's a broadcast, and they may even say, stand by for such and such a broadcast. There's that type of broadcast. And then there's the other type of broadcast. So it's 2 type of broadcast. So the broadcast where you're actually like, you're not saying anything, but someone is saying something to you, like you have a police radio or a walkie-talkie on, and they're talking directly to you through a broadcast type of way. Or again, the broadcast download where it's like this broadcast that everyone can listen into type of thing, if that makes sense. So basically more of an observation type of broadcast versus an inner ear type of broadcast where someone's directly talking to you. Or a better way for me to explain it may be if you have your earpods in and someone is directly communicating with you versus no earpod, and it's just an observation of a broadcast, radio broadcast that everyone can listen in. That's the best way for me to describe it. So whether it's the broadcast, the inner ear, your thinking voice hearing, or the external, like the TV's on type of hearing, those 3 type of ways of hearing voices can indeed lead to an out-of-body experience. And so I want to give you some examples of that to explain that. Now, this is what I want you to understand. Please do not shut this out. You know what I'm saying? it's very profound when you're able to hear beyond dimensions. Now, there are some people that may have experienced spirits that are talking really loudly, like you're in a crowded restaurant on a Saturday night and it just gets to be too much. Or they may experience mind racing and all these type of things with the voices and all of that. That can be annoying. That's only happened to me a couple of times, but you can get through that. Okay. When clairaudience first start to turn on, so to speak, in a way where you are aware of it, spirits are going to be talking to you and it can be very annoying. And it's like, stop it, stop. Yeah. And so this is where some people have been diagnosed with mental health issues because they can't stop their voices. They can't stop their voices. They're clairaudient. Spirits are talking to them. But the thing is, you have complete control over your body. And that's why it's so important for you to tap into your essence and continue to cultivate that relationship with your higher self. Because you can tell these spirits, first of all, go away. I don't want to hear you. But just saying that first time may not work. I remember it happened to me and I was not feeling too well. And they just kept on going on and on. And I couldn't pick out who was saying what because it was just too much. But over time, when you allow for yourself to really understand your multidimensional nature, you'll see that you have control over all of that. If you don't want that to happen, you can shut that part of the talking and all of that off, and they'll respect that. But you have to respect yourself and know yourself and understand yourself in order for that to happen. So those people that have been diagnosed with different mental health issues because they can't stop the voices that just keep coming and keep coming, they haven't allowed for themselves to understand clairaudience in general and hearing voices and hearing it into other dimensions and all of that because they haven't been told that that is an ability that is a spiritual ability or psychic ability, whatever term you want to use. It is a part of your nature. It's a part of our nature as human beings because we are very, we're very special in this reality, and we haven't been told how special we are and the type of abilities that we have beyond our five senses. Because all of us have the abilities that are beyond our five senses. It's just a matter of becoming aware of them and then allowing them to be, accepting them. Okay? So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. Let's get back to the clairaudience leading to the OBEs. I just want you to understand that this is a good thing. Embrace it. So when it comes to clairaudience, initiating an out-of-body experience, it's really simple. All you have to do is follow the voice. That's it. You focus on the voice and you concentrate on what the voice is saying, and automatically, naturally, organically, there's an aspect of you that's going to go into the reality of that voice. So, to give you an example of the hearing your name being called and then going into that reality, I used to hear my name as a child. Every now and then, it sounded like my mother was calling me. And I used to answer. I said, "Mom, you calling me?" And she's like, "No." Every time throughout the years. And then later on, decades later, I'm having out-of-body experiences and all these things. I hear my mother's voice. And instead of trying to, physically say something, I just listened, focused, concentrated on the hearing of the voice. She's calling my name. I do not get excited. I do not get scared. I know it's not her. After all these years, I know it's not her. But I stay neutral. And I allow myself to just follow the voice. So what happened? I felt my energy body, my etheric body, my astral body, whichever word you want to use. I felt my body leaving. And then now I'm traveling. And the next thing I know, I'm in a different version of my mother's house. And I met up with that version of her that was calling my name. And you know what she wanted? She was in the shower and she just needed somebody to wash her back. That's it. It was that simple. She was in a different reality and called me in that reality to come wash her back. That's it. See, a lot of times we get scared or afraid or like, well, what is this? What is it? It can be something as simple as that. Another experience I had, I'm laying in the bed because this is happening at night, and I'm hearing two ladies talking. Sounds like the TV is on. I know the TV isn't on. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. And no one's up in the house. So there's no TV on. It's just quiet. But I'm hearing two people talking. It starts out very faint at first. I relax, continue to relax, as I was already relaxed, but I continue to relax. And I just listened in to the voices, two people talking. Next thing I know, I felt that pull, that slight pull. And now I'm traveling outside of my body. Initially, it's dark. And now what phases in is I'm in a different place. Where am I? I'm where the two ladies were talking. These two ladies were talking in what would be perceived as the past because the computers that were in the office, they were in an office where the big, the late 90s type of computers that took up half the desk, that those type of wide computers. And so I wasn't there too long. This was still during a time when I was still afraid of, I didn't fully accept, well, I accepted my OBEs, but there was a lot of fear. So I wasn't even there that long to really get into why I was there, who are these women. But I can tell you that I definitely was in the spirit realm because they didn't see me. I was like standing right there and they didn't even flinch. They didn't even look over or nothing. It was like I was a spirit to them. I was a ghost to them. So that was very interesting. So then there was another time, another experience. And this experience that I'm about to talk to you about was not an astral travel type of experience. It was more of a consciousness travel, a consciousness shifting. The type of things, if you listen to my other videos, I talk about consciousness travel or consciousness shifting because there's different types of OBEs. If you haven't watched the video where I'm talking about astral travel versus other OBEs, check that out because astral travel, again, is not the only type of out-of-body experience. So there are experiences where you can go into another version of yourself, but you're not in the astral realm. So in this experience, I heard a voice. And at first it was faint, like in the distance. And then I listened in and it got louder and louder and louder. And it was a man speaking with a British accent. And I'm thinking, who in the world is this? And, he has a British accent, which I absolutely love listening to. I love British accents. And so I just continued to listen. And the next thing I know, what phased in was I was in a different room. And I didn't feel a pull at all. Like my body I didn't leave my body because this wasn't an astral travel type of experience. It was just a shift in consciousness into another version of myself. So I'm hearing the voice. I now am in the room as this man and I'm waking up from my desk. When you were in school, in this case, it was middle school, and you fall asleep in class and your head is down and then you're waking up. That's what happened. And as I woke up, I see the teacher in front of the room teaching something. And so I looked around and I saw that there were kids that were around like 12, 13, 14, something like that. So they were like in middle school. Everybody was at a desk. And then this was a situation I was kind of sharing the consciousness of this individual. So I knew things about her that you wouldn't normally know about an individual unless you were sharing their consciousness. This was another version of me. I was in somebody else's body. Okay. And this girl was simply in her classroom. She fell asleep. She woke back up. And when she woke back up, a part of her was me, my consciousness in her body. All I had to do was simply follow the voice. You stay neutral. You don't get excited because you don't want to snap out of that state that you're in. You focus and concentrate on the voice and allow what's going to organically happen. All right? Another experience that I had, it was very similar in that I heard a voice. It started out very faintly, then it it was louder, and then it was like somebody was teaching something. And the man was talking about gravity. He was talking about some stuff, he was teaching stuff, and it was a situation where this was more of an astral travel experience, but I didn't feel the pull out of my body. I don't remember feeling the pull. But I was flying around or floating around. I was going through walls and different things. I followed the voice and I was in another place and I was just searching for I kept hearing him even when I was in that other reality. I was already in that other reality, but I still heard his voice, but I wasn't in the room where he was. So I was going through the walls, then going up the ceiling, going through it. And what you can do when you're in your astral body. And I finally got into the classroom where he was there in the front speaking, talking about gravity. His name was on the board and everything. And this is another thing. The more you start traveling around, astral travel or other type of OBEs, there's information that you're going to gather. There's people, there phone numbers, codes, names. You'll get all of that. All right, as time goes on. So I'm not going to say his name, but what I am going to say is that I was in Mars. I say in because I believe that I was on the inside, but I'm not too sure. I didn't focus a lot of attention on that particular, during that time, on that particular situation because there was so many other things that were going on with me when it comes to OBEs and other situations that I was more focused on. So I'm going to say that I was in Mars, but I was still in an astral type of environment because I was able to fly through walls and ceilings. How did I know I was in Mars? I asked the people there. I remember saying, I said something about Earth. I said, is this Earth or what part of Earth is this? And they said, this isn't Earth or something like that. And I'm like, well, what planet is it? Mars. It's not I've been to Mars several times, so I wasn't surprised. And apparently there's a version of me that's there anyway. Because there's this boy who said that I didn't owe him. He owed me or I owed him money or something. I don't remember at this point, but I have it written down. But I want to say briefly, these experiences that you're having, there's reasons behind them when they're spontaneous. So gather as much information as you can. Make sure you write them down so you can go back to them later and compare them to other experiences, especially the ones where you're, excuse me, where you're hearing in other dimensions or other planes. Because those, like, you're not going to hear every single reality that you go into. You're not going to hear people talking first and then you go there. So the fact that you're hearing someone talk and go there, that's important. So really take note. I know it can be fun. You're astral traveling or your consciousness is in someone else's body or another plane or whatever. And it's fun and all of that. But do more than just have fun. Allow for these experiences to teach you something or to learn more about yourself or the versions of yourself or ways you can handle things in this reality. And I'll talk about that in some other episodes. But so, yeah, that was my experience. Again, listening, following the voice, and winding up in another planet. And so another thing I want to say is that when you have an out-of-body experience that was initiated through following the voice. You're hearing the voices, the clairaudience. You can also have an experience where you're not necessarily in an etheric body or astral body or in someone else's body. Your consciousness can just be in another place, and you're listening to what's happening and you're viewing it at the same time. And this is where clairvoyance comes into play as well. So I had an experience where I heard a voice first. And then the next thing I know, I saw the person speaking. I was still within my body. I still was laying in the bed. But it was like my consciousness was in the same room as this individual. So it wasn't like remotely viewing. It was like I was in the room. So it started out. So let me explain this how the best way I can. I heard the voice first, right? So I focused on the voice. I followed the voice. And the next thing I know, I saw the man. He was a speaker. He was speaking to a group of people. I did not have a body at this point because it was like he was on a screen, but not like a movie screen. It was more of a vision that I could see him. So some people may call this remote viewing, whatever. There's so many different terms. I don't really like using terms because certain people say that this is this and that is that, and that's how it is. So I'm just going to explain it the best way I can. It was like viewing, it was like a vision, but not a vision. But I wasn't in the room with him yet. So I guess you can say it was a vision. But I heard him first. I see him. Now, I'm continuously focusing on the voice as I see him. And the next thing you know, I phased into that reality as if I was in the room with him and the other people he was talking to. But I had no body. My consciousness was in that room only. Now, what I just described could be described as remote viewing, consciousness shifting, seeing something on the screen and then going into it. Whatever you want to classify it as, whatever. My focus in this video is to let you know that there's different ways in which you come out of your body or you go into another reality when you follow the voice. It's not always the same. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the type of hearing. When you're hearing the voices and you follow the voice, but it's kind of like it's a radio broadcast, or a better way of saying it in these days, you have your ear pod on or one ear pod on, and you're like on a mission or something and someone's speaking in your ear. For an example, you hear a voice, you follow the voice, you have an astral travel experience, but you still hear the person in your ear because they're talking to you the whole time and they're telling you what you need to do in that particular reality. It's like you were yourself while you were in this reality, and then once you follow the voice, your conscious awareness shifts into the version of you that's like on a mission or something, and someone's in your ear and telling you to do this and do that and whatever type of mission that you're on. That can happen as well. And then if you have one of the experiences where there's a radio broadcast that's not necessarily like you're on a mission. I know this may be like, what does she mean on a mission? I'm describing it the best way I can. But it's a radio broadcast and they're like, stand by for broadcast. They may say that. Whatever you do, you've got to remain neutral with this. If you get excited, the broadcast, and you're going to snap out of that state. It's like the half sleep state that you're in. It's a very deep meditative type of state that you spontaneously got into. Do not get excited. Do not, just relax, stay calm so that you can listen in to whatever it is that they're going to say to you. And then you can allow yourself to continue to listen. And next thing you know, you'll be into that reality. All right. You got to stay neutral. or you'll snap out of the altered state of consciousness that's allowing you to hear in the first place, or hear that acutely. So bottom line, the key to having your clairaudience or hearing voices initiate an out-of-body experience is to remain relaxed and at a neutral state and follow the voice. You focus on the voice, you concentrate on the voice and nothing else, and allow for the more expanded version of you to guide you into the reality where the voice is. All right? So if you want to dive deeper into all of this and get to the point where you feel safe, comfortable, and in control of your OBEs, no matter how they come, especially when they come in the way in which it's clairaudience or hearing voices leading into an OBE, go to meetwithvernita.com and let's have a conversation. See you next time.